everyone, to the HerdCon podcast. I'm your host today, Michelle Alford, and I am here today with these wonderfully fine folks from WMUL. Can you each take a moment and introduce yourself and your role?
Hello, I'm David Adkins. I'm the continuity director at WMUL. And that involves pretty much continuity is everything that's not programming. And so internal communication, external communication, and some imaging, promos, and PSAs. Mostly focusing on PSAs.
I am Makaylah Wheeler. I am the student station manager. So beyond communications, which I also deal with, I make sure that all of the other departments are working together and everything is scheduled and events are happening, and I plan the events and anything else that needs done, including paperwork.
And I'm Dr. Bailey. I'm the faculty manager, and my job is to keep us FCC compliant and do the paperwork the university requires.
Awesome. And we also have Nate Hara on our production team today. You want to say hi today, Nate?
Hello.
He gets to do our behind the scenes today for us. So let's start out. Let's talk a little bit about what WMUL does and how students can participate, either, I guess, with the university and WMUL, or I don't know if community members can participate as well or not. So tell us a little bit about it.
So actually, most students on campus will recognize us because we are those people that are always out on the plaza playing music. That's how everybody recognizes us. We're always out there. Or the other day, Matt James was actually talking about that we get taken for granted because we are always at every single event. And but beyond that, beyond playing music, we broadcast Marshall sports, every major sports. We broadcast it. We have news, we have promotions, we have productions, we have programming, we have an entire PR team, social media. We do online and we do television. So anything media related, pretty much we do it. And yeah, you do not have to be a student. You can be a community member to get involved. And it's completely around their schedule. All they have to do is just send us a message. That can be through our social media, that can be online, or that can be in person, or it can be an email. Any way that's best for them, we can get them involved, get them started as soon as possible.
Very awesome. So with as far as getting involved, I know you guys have different programs for the radio and stuff, and you mentioned TV. What kind of things do you do for TV?
So we actually work with the TV studio downstairs. So there is a new student organization that just started up, JMC TV. But before JMC TV started up, what we mainly did was sports broadcasts, news broadcasts, and we help MU report. So everybody that works for our station is also trained for television. You learn the fundamentals in radio, and then we transfer that to television so they can work behind the scenes. They can also be anchors, producers, and they learn to edit and help with programming so we can get that out both live and post-production.
Since we're talking a little bit about television, were you guys involved in the drone footage Marshall promo that went live here the last week or so? The one we got in trouble about with the football stadium.
That
was a lot of fun.
was not us. That was not us.
Okay.
I do want to point out though, in that promo, they do show off our TV studio and our
Yeah.
Luke Hamilton, who could not make it today.
Yeah, our news director is in that though, but that wasn't us.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you were involved. I know I watched through it several times, but yeah, I was curious if you guys got to be a part of that since the TV studio seemed to be in the background. Well, tell us a little bit about how like community members can get involved. Because I mean, I know there's so much going on with WMUL between, yes, doing all the DJ work on campus, but I want to say Nate had mentioned something about doing some local music segments coming up.
Yeah,
So,
actually, we have a program called Classroom Concerts that had actually been dormant for about 4 years that we just started back up this past month and a half. We're going to keep that going. What we do is we bring in local bands and we bring them into the TV studio. We record a full about 30-minute segment show with them and put that out, and that airs over our airwaves on the radio station, and it premieres on our YouTube channel. So that's part of what we do, but also to just work with the community, we do events such as Funkfest. We work with you all for HerdCon, and those things happen year round. Sometimes we just go out and we host events. We are the voice that helps put things on. For example, there is an event done with international and intercultural and a couple of the LGBTQ plus organizations within town that are put on in April and early May, that the last few years we have went out and helped host, help them play music for. And that's always a lot of fun because that just gets us out into the community a little bit more. And pretty much every single time that we do something like that, we always gain another volunteer at the station. Typically it's a DJ, but sometimes it's people who want to get involved with news. They just want to help behind the scenes. We have a lot of community members and faculty that come in and they help us with music clearing year round. So that's always available to absolutely everyone.
That's so awesome. So as far as some of the music events that you're doing for the station, and I guess even for YouTube, what are some of the things going on that people can be watching out for, especially through things like YouTube, or I don't know if you guys put any kind of podcast stuff up on like Spotify or anything, but yeah.
Yeah, we do. We have a fully functioning Spotify that anything that we put out is actually uploaded, even if it is not a podcast. We do podcast as well. We don't have a fancy setup like this, though. I do have to say that. We have our studio space that we use for podcasting, but everything goes out on our Spotify. And then a couple of things that you guys can look out for in the next month is actually we're working on a couple of Halloween specials that are coming out in the next week.
Ooh.
Classroom concerts we're lining back up, and we are actually working with the Title IX office on a project as well.
Oh, very nice.
Also,
Now, go
great programming, Sports View, which every Wednesday at 6 p.m. you can catch that on our YouTube channel. See us interview the team in person.
Oh, very nice.
We're
And
forgetting
it's mainly the Olympic sports. It's not men's basketball.
Now, as far as going to things like do commentary for like the football games and stuff when you're covering things like that, or okay, is that student run for the commentation, or okay?
WMUL covers the majority of sports that lend themselves to play-by-play. We have a booth. Football stadium. We're supposed to be getting a booth in the new baseball stadium, and we sit on press row for the men's and women's basketball games. And yes, the students on our FM 88 sports staff, all the games.
That is so awesome. How many games then do you think you guys do each year?
Last time it was 145.
Oh wow, that's a lot of airtime, and that's just games. That is crazy and awesome.
That's also a lot of good practice for our sports broadcasters because they are eager to get on air and call these games because they are passionate about sports.
And beyond those broadcasts, I mean, they have specialty shows. We have right now, we have Speed Zone that's specifically for racing. A lot of the times we will have specialty shows for, we've had hockey, I believe. We've had hockey. We've had, of course, tons of football, a couple baseball programs, golf. So they do their own shows on the side as well. And lots of packages get done that go into both our news segments and the specialty sports shows to cover these. So it's far beyond just broadcast of games.
And at the end of the week, we have Herd Roundup, which is a program that looks back at the week that was in Marshall athletics.
Oh, wow. So if you didn't catch any of the games during the week, you can kind of catch up on all of the highlights. Very nice.
You can catch
go ahead.
You can catch up on the highlights, but like again, we do put everything on Spotify. So if you missed it, you can go back and listen at any time.
Very nice. How many of your programs on Spotify are also video, or do you just do the audio on Spotify?
Spotify is just audio. YouTube is where we put all of our video segments. We also try to tease a couple of smaller versions on all of our social media sites as well.
Okay.
We are trying to get TikTok a little bit bigger than it has been, but that's actually a little bit difficult because of the guidelines. When you are a company or a business or a school, it is different than a personal TikTok account.
Oh,
So it's
wow.
a little bit harder to get that content out.
But we've got
What,
dedicated social media team, and they are excited to be on Spotify. I mean, TikTok. Oh man, they're excited to be on TikTok. There has been maybe that may have been kind of an oversight in the past, but I mean, we're all kind of younger. We're all Gen Z. We're all growing up in the age of the internet. So we're all at least a little bit familiar with social media, and we have a full team that are fully dedicated to it.
that is very cool. As far as like the differences on how you run TikTok for something like that, what would our listeners want to know possibly about that? Because that I didn't know that that was anything different.
Uh,
Um,
Yeah, I mean, content wise, a lot of the time we have to change it up a bit and add a little bit more personality. So instead of hearing those specialty shows or their voices on air, what you were seeing is behind the scenes of how everything functions or who the people are themselves, what they do at the station. But when it comes to content and sound specifically, TikTok will tag, they'll flag certain sounds that you are not allowed to use them. It's a content violation, even if it's your content that you generated. They will flag it and they will not allow you to post it. They're also very, very specific if you're trying to direct people outside of the application, which makes it
mm,
very difficult when you are functioning on multiple applications. So we are trying to work a way around that, but obviously that is a very helpful tool. I mean, news media around the world has been utilizing TikTok the last 2 years specifically, and it looks very different. I don't know how I feel about it yet because the personal feeling that it is adding to it, I don't know if that's always the best take on something that should be seen in a little bit more of a serious light. But we're adapting. Like I said, we're trying to reach younger and younger generations every day. And that's going to have to go along the same lines as us adapting our material as well.
that's very true. And of course, TikTok tends to have your, I guess you'd say, time limit as far as what you can post. What are they up to? About 10 minutes now, tops?
Yes, you can post 10 minutes. We actually just got granted access to be able to hit that 10-minute mark, I think about 2 months ago. We
Okay.
have not posted anything that is 10 minutes long yet because your audience doesn't typically stay interested in content beyond like 5 to 10 seconds before they want to switch to the next video on something like TikTok.
Very true. That's one thing uh, my household is notorious for going through reels and TikToks, and it is amazing how quickly the family will just, oh, nope, swipe, swipe. It's like, I don't know what's going on yet. How did you decide not to go there? So, yeah. What kind of things do you guys do to try to help engage your audience early on for those kind of short snippets for social media and whatnot?
A lot of it has to do with along with focusing on how long an attention span is. We try to get our most important point out within the first 3 seconds, whether that be a little blurb that's written at the top of the video that disappears, or if it's content for sports specifically that they know that that's a hot topic right now people are going to want to stay tuned in for. For example, who do they think is going to win the World Series? That's
Okay.
that's something people are going to want to hear about. They're going to tune in, even if it's a more light-hearted reel that's posted to our socials. That's something interesting because that's people want to interact with that. They want to give their opinion. And those are things you don't normally think about. And it doesn't have to be a long story or an in-depth report. It can just be something small that gets the audience to interact. And they're like, okay, I want to look more into this. What else do they have available? They start digging through more of the media that we have and that we're putting out, and they continue to tune in and listen to us.
That is so awesome. Now, of course, we mentioned that you guys have helped out with HerdCon in the past. What is something from one of the past HerdCon events that you guys have specifically enjoyed being a part of?
I really liked that sing along last year.
That was exactly what
Oh,
I
yeah.
was going to say. Yeah.
You got invited to do another.
I did.
Yeah. Yeah, we are hoping to redo that. So fingers crossed.
It was just fun getting up on stage singing, and it was a good environment to do it. It was and also very nerdy songs, a lot of Disney songs, a lot of video game songs. I feel like it was just a perfect environment for it.
Oh, good, good, good. So did you participate in the singing or
I did. I did. I sang Mulan, the song from Mulan, Make a Man Out of You.
Oh, nice. Awesome. I got to see some of the videos from that because I was helping the vendors set up. I spend so much time in the background, I don't get to actually attend a lot of those. It happens.
Background's good. Background's important.
It
Background
is.
rules the world.
It is. And with so many moving parts with HerdCon, there's a lot of background.
I think that's what people overlook a lot of the time in anything like this, whether that be, podcasting or putting on an event or a radio station, is how much work is actually going on behind the scenes to make these things possible. And that's a lot of time they think, you just put out a quick episode that takes like 15 minutes to record. You're like, okay, this looks good. I might cut this out. All right, let's get it out. Or you have an event, you're playing music. They don't think about how long that takes to make a playlist, to structure it to what people are going to want to hear. Are there any announcements you have to make? When do you need to make those announcements? Where you're going? What's the setup entail? How many people do you have to work it? They don't consider all of those factors into what makes it work. They don't know how many hours goes into planning the simplest of events so that you can put it on for a couple hours. People can come enjoy, they can take a sticker or two, and they can be like, hey, I remember you from that event. And that's what gets overlooked a lot of the time, is exactly how much man hours are going into these activities.
Oh yeah. I know since we started doing the HerdCon podcast, it's been, oh God, I'd say an average of 2 to 3 hours easily after the recording of going through and working on the editing and then trying to get everything posted and everything. And I can't imagine with as much as you guys are doing, just how much time some of those kind of things are taking. What would you say, like, for some of your more popular shows and stuff, what kind of time frame are you actually putting into those events?
It varies. It varies. Okay. And you probably noticed too that the more you work on editing, the faster you get and the more accurate. And so just starting out, a lot of the people have working on a project, they're kind of learning, they're kind of figuring out the ropes. So maybe they'll have a kind of larger time frame on it. We still set deadlines. We still kind of communicating with our staff. We see what works for them and okay, where can we hit this benchmark? When would be the best time for this to come out and air? So a lot of it, there is no set like this the amount of time it takes to do that. But the upperclassmen, we can take an evening and really hammer something out if we find the time to do it. But a lot of it's figuring out what we can do, and a lot of it's delegating it and bringing new people on to work with them and kind of fill in the gaps.
And to do a football game, preparation will probably take you an entire week.
Yeah.
Because
Oh wow.
going through all the game notes, you're preparing your spotting charts, boards, and you're updating your statistics, and you're trying to memorize names and numbers, and That is not something you do in an evening. Most students are royally surprised at how much preparation goes into putting on a football broadcast.
It takes a lot more than just passion and a want to do something to be able to put these things on. Sports and news specifically, that you don't stop. There are constant updates coming. There are things you need to change. The schedule is changing because someone can't do it, or a story has changed last minute before you go on air. That's just talked about football broadcast specifically. Up to the broadcast, there are still changes happening. There are things that happen while we are live on air that have to be taken care of that the audience doesn't know about. So you're constantly having to adapt and take things into account. So it's never ending. It's not, you can't set a deadline on exactly how much time it's going to take, because technically it doesn't end. You know when you're going to start preparing for a specific broadcast, but technically you are not done with that broadcast until everything is edited and posted and done. And then still, even then, you're going to have things that you're going to have to go back and look at and fix and revisit in the next broadcast. So it's never ending.
I want to add to that adapting. It's fun. It's stressful sometimes. It really is stressful, especially with some people quitting. That happens. But there is something about like being under pressure, jumping through the hoops, getting everything against all odds together, and then you get it out on air live, and you take a step back and you're like, I got it. Happened. It's good. Job well done. Now it's in the hands of the talent. And that's rewarding. Even though it's stressful a lot of the time, I like that element of the job.
And time comes into play because students have to realize the 5 o'clock news starts at 5 o'clock. The football game kicks off at 7 p.m. and ready or not, you have to be there and ready to go. And it's an eye opener.
Yeah, if you want to learn how to get out of the rut of procrastination, this is definitely the place to do it, because you cannot procrastinate with anything when it comes to broadcast.
Well, we have such a culture. I was thinking of we have the Netflix culture. You have all this on demand, and people forget, because they can watch things on demand, that there's a lot of preparation, and things actually do have a time schedule a lot of times. But yeah, that's I think that's very interesting that you mentioned that, people have to kind of catch up with that and make sure they don't procrastinate on it.
Because of that culture, we have such a quick turnaround on everything. People expect it to be ready at the press of a button or when they're wanting it. They don't realize how much time is actually going into preparing all of that material. It's not press of a button for the people that are making that happen.
One thing I want to mention, similar along those lines, is, excuse me, it feels recent, for College Radio Day that happened almost a month ago, but would you like to explain the process through going through all of that, going through the preparation for College Radio Day and College Radio Day itself?
Well,
the on-air marathon, Matt.
The on-air marathon. Okay. That required me to work with our entire team, because we needed something that not only showed what our station did, but who we were, why college radio is different than any other medium, how we set ourselves apart, and how we could set our station apart from every other station in the world. So what we decided to do was include a couple of our broadcast examples, which included a classroom concert and a news package, which was actually on one of our events that we put on, Car Bash. And then we kind of did a mini podcast, which featured quite a few members of our board of directors. And we talked about the impact that college radio had had on us and how our station specifically had changed our lives for the better, and exactly what that was going to mean as we embark on our futures in the next few years, because a lot of us are upperclassmen or we've already graduated. And the preparation and deciding just what we wanted to do for that was a little bit difficult. I remember specifically we were standing in the staff room like 10:30 at night, just trying to figure out what we wanted to do, because originally we just wanted to do this big broadcast segment, create an entirely new show. We're going to do this. And then we realized, okay, we don't need to create anything new per se. We need to show this is what we are, this is what we do, and this is why we do it. And that was one instance where that little bit of personability really added to it, because you got to hear it and the voices of people that you typically hear them have a nice broadcast news voice. That's what they're doing all the time. And suddenly you can hear this little bit of emotion, and this really matters to these people. And having an audience around the world listen to that, to be able to connect to that, is what makes the audience want to continue listening to what you're putting out. And the actual prep work and editing that wasn't too bad. It was on average for something that we normally put together. But then actually seeing that happen live, that was amazing.
And the honor of wrapping up.
Yeah, we wrapped up the entire global marathon. And so we internationally, I got to hear my station, my babies, and that was a memory I will always hold dear.
I want to add that I was there when you first heard the broadcast, and you were at a loss of words and just beaming with pride for the station.
It's a lot different trying to put those things together and planning, but when you hear that final cut and it's ready to go out, it hits you a little bit different. Working behind the scenes set, I always tell people that's my favorite part of my job, is watching how everything turns out and people realize their potential. It's the payoff. It's stressful and it takes long hours to be able to do everything and make sure that it works and everybody works together and you're adapting and you've got to make sure you keep a calm face during those adaptations because everybody else is stressed. But then watching it pay off and hearing how proud everyone is of themselves, that's what makes it worth it.
That is awesome. You need to do a panel during HerdCon on just that. That sounds that would, I think, would be one of those things a lot of people would enjoy sitting in for, and seeing both your passion for it. That would be kind of awesome. So I don't think we've actually done a panel with any of the broadcasting and stuff on campus yet, which would be kind of, we did do a local podcasting group panel discussion last year, which it was a lot of fun. We didn't have a lot of people come in person for it, but we did have a lot of people watch it remotely, which was fun. But that's always the hit and miss with some of the panel events during things like HerdCon. You don't always have a lot of people in person, but it is always fun to see what kind of impact it has later. So, or just having the discussion itself. So I would love to see what you guys would present. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Hey, we're always open for collaboration. That's what we're here for.
Amen. That's one of my favorite parts with HerdCon, is finding ways to collaborate with the different programs on campus, because I like the fact that it is the perfect vehicle to showcase that there's a little bit of pop culture in just about every area you can even possibly imagine, whether it be a discussion of what the difference of real medicine is compared to TV medicine, and watching somebody diagnose on some show like, say, House or whatnot. So it's always kind of interesting seeing what the reality is versus, the pop culture in of everything. So, well, tell us about some of the stuff you guys have coming up in the next couple months. I know you're always have something going.
It is the end of October, so we have a Halloween special coming out next week. We have
station's birthday next
Yeah, the
Wednesday.
station's birthday is next Wednesday.
Happy birthday,
Woo,
WMUL.
happy birthday. How old is WML now?
Started
60,
November 1st, 1961 at 4 p.m.
60.
Woo! That's awesome. Yeah, Drinko just turned 25, so they're
Yep.
still babies.
Also do a remote from the plane crash memorial ceremony.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Our normal sports broadcast, we have 2 special programmings. We have 4 coming out for our birthday. We have 5 special programmings coming out on the next 2 weeks. Sports
Mhm.
broadcasts, preparations for the memorial fountain ceremony, because we do a live broadcast that day, and we'll have 3 special programs for that as well, along with a special edition newscast package. And preparations for the holidays, which means we'll be working several of the holiday events on campus and prepping for our end of the semester celebrations.
Semester does not end our broadcasting because we play by play of all the sporting
Spooky.
events over the break.
Oh, man. Do you guys do anything special for, say, like even New Year's and whatnot as well? Or, and of course, I guess you have the radio station running. That's 365 days a year generally, isn't it?
Yes, we run year round, 24/7. There is no break. We have DJs even when students go on break. We still have some DJs that come in and they do their special programming. I'm here, Bailey's here, Mike's here.
I'm here too.
Yeah, Dave's here.
We did a basketball game on New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
We actually have a sports broadcast happening on Halloween. So
A spooky game.
Maybe kind of fun to have a spooky game. Put the players in some Halloween costumes. It'd be fun.
Throw some bats in the stadium and watch what
Ooh.
happens. Don't do
Can we
that.
get the ones from Old Main?
the campus squirrels.
They're probably available.
They've been slowly moving them out of the building, so there's fewer of them on campus. But they're still there.
Squirrels? Oh no.
Oh no. No, the bats. They've been slowly moving them out of some of the buildings. They were a protected species, so they had to do it very carefully. So
Oh, I didn't know they were a protected species.
the ones that were in Old Main were a protected species. They're really adorable. My husband works in Old Main and has had to remove bats on multiple occasions. So he goes around with a little butterfly net and starts collecting bats and getting them out nice and safely to the trees. So it's always fun to see the wildlife that we see on campus. So
It's
and
also,
the squirrels, yeah.
it's also the time of year where the bats will swoop down, just kind of not at anybody, but just swoop a little bit, catching some bugs or something.
Mhm.
And I think that's cool. I like seeing them.
Oh, I love the wildlife on campus. Somebody recently got video of one of the hawks coming down and stealing one of our squirrels. So yeah, it was a little traumatic, but it was also fascinating.
Give our squirrels back.
I bet it was the one.
Oh, goodness. So do you guys have any stories you would like to share about being a part of WMUL that you think helps epitomize what working with WML is like?
Well, I've been at WMUL for 39 years, so I can say to watch students create things that, one, make it on the air, two, that their parents and other friends and family get to hear, and then by chance they have the fortune for it to win an award, just changes their life almost immediately.
Beyond that, it's, for example, our board of directors. There's a misconception that everybody that is involved is a journalism major, and that could not be further from the truth. For example, when I started, I was not a journalism major. I actually did not have any interest in being on air other than DJing. And Dr. Bailey and the student station manager at the time happened to find me DJing. We're like, hey, have you thought about news? No, I had not thought about news, but I tried news out anyway. And for some reason, I fell in love with it.
And became the news director.
I did. I became the news director and loved that so much that Bailey was like, hey, what about executive director? And it's completely changed my life.
And it's built into student.
Yes.
station manager.
Yes, it's built into student station manager. So it's, you never know where your life is going to go or what's going to benefit you the most until you step outside of your comfort zone, because that was something I had never thought about having interest in ever. I didn't think that's what I would do. I was pretty quiet, actually, believe it or not. I was pretty quiet, and that's not something I expected to get involved with or love. And it has changed my entire life of what I do, how I function, who I am, and what I want to do for the rest of my life, just based off of those interactions.
That's one of the pure joys of teaching. Watch that happen.
Now, what was your major beforehand?
I was in anthropology.
Oh, wow.
Big jump.
I like that though. To me, in a way, they go kind of hand in hand, because with anthropology and that kind of look at what we do and stuff, and the fact that journalism and broadcasting have given us such an amazing record that we can go back and look at. I could see that. To me, that I could see that kind of connecting in so many interesting ways.
Yeah, it's the observation and the recording of people. So I guess I wasn't going too far. Definitely outside of my comfort zone though. I had to learn how to
Okay.
speak. I had a nice twang. I had to learn to adjust to read the news.
And everyone has to learn grammar.
Yes, grammar. This is we have our own grammar policeman. That's the good part about it though, is working so closely with some of the faculty, it completely changes your school experience. And I think that's something that some students really miss out on. And that's why they feel they don't really have a place, or they kind of get lost in the crowd, is because they haven't made that connection. And the good thing about the radio station is we work so close with Dr. Bailey every single day, and he will go out of his way to look at classwork and things that we're doing outside of the radio station just to make sure that we're doing what we need to do. And that's helped every single student that has come through the station. And that's why it's helpful if you're looking for a place to just feel included and like you're doing something with your college experience. It's the radio station, because beyond doing any projects that you have go out on air, you're growing as a person and you're doing something that really matters for your education, regardless of the major that you're in.
Your turn, Dave.
Oh, oh, I lost that train of thought a while ago. I would say I've never had a teacher, instructor, professor, mentor be as real to me as Dr. Bailey has been. Sometimes it was tough love. A lot of times it was tough love. Considerable amount of times it was tough love.
Early in the morning.
Early in the morning. There were times where I had taken a night class with him and I had messed up an assignment so unbelievably severely. Any professor within their right would be justified in tossing out my grade, giving me an F, failing me for the course. He took me, he set me down, talked to me about a lot, but he
Probably
kept
too much.
well, we were there till we started at 9 p.m. We left at 6 a.m. the next morning, and I learned a lot during that meeting in particular. And
The red ink was worth it.
the red ink was
Learned
so
a
worth
lot.
learned to love the red ink. I've never had a professor give me as much feedback as Dr. Bailey, and feedback that genuinely has helped me grow, because if you keep seeing the same feedback on assignments and you're not fixing it, you really got to ask yourself, okay, why am I making these same mistakes? Why am I not paying attention to this? Why am I being careless about it? I don't know. I think it was really holistic. Work ethic, self-worth. It's hard to articulate how much I've gotten from this program and from Dr. Bailey himself.
Got a wonderful internship, public broadcast.
Oh, I did. Oh goodness. Oh man. That I've been blessed by the people I've met and the people who have pushed me along the way, because I would not be the person I am without them.
One thing
I love that. Oh, Nate, go.
Even though I haven't been there as long, one thing that I've appreciated is that it's a place for learning. Not a lot of places would keep me around if I did what I did on the news the other day and forgot to turn on the microphone. But it's just a place of learning, and that it is okay to make at least those kind of smaller mistakes, and able to pick up on them and really learn what to do and what not to do.
And limit the what not to do.
Well, it sounds like it's a very hands-on learning environment, which I know personally I love, and I thrive so much better in a hands-on environment versus a lecture where you're just kind of verbal soup of some sort that you're trying to ingest and only getting about half of it most of the time. So I think that is amazing. What would you say to anyone who is interested in either possibly going into some form of broadcasting or journalism major, or switching to something like that, or is just kind of interested in it for something as simple as podcasting?
I would say very simply, we have so many different ways, you're bound to enjoy one of them.
I'm trying to think. Nate, do you have any particular questions?
Kind of delved into a little bit, but explain how you all first got involved into WMUL just in general.
Well, I'll start. Signed up for the media production major. I signed up for the emphasis in RTV because I wanted to work in television in some way. And without even realizing it, I was on the track to join WMUL, and I took the intro to audio production class my second semester. And through that class, I've gotten to try everything. Try editing, try producing, engineering, writing, and I found that I kind of love a little bit of everything. I think that was especially the intro to audio production class, that's a good jumping off point to try things. Because otherwise I wouldn't have pushed myself really to really be that involved at the station.
And Nate, is that not your story as well?
That's pretty much my story as well. Sign up for the media production major. I heard about WMUL like at the beginning of the school year, and I was like, oh, I'll get to that. And then second semester of freshman year, I took audio production, and it immediately set me on that path.
The path of righteousness.
Which Mac has a
Whoa.
My story was a little bit different. I obviously was not in the major, but I was taking an introductory journalism class because any student, their first year or two, can take the introductory journalism class to fill a credit. So I took it, and actually I found out a couple weeks ago, Dave and I apparently had that class together. Had no idea 6 years ago.
Oh, you found that out a couple times, not just a couple weeks ago. You keep finding it out.
And she just wanted a humanities credit.
Just wanted a humanities credit. That's it. But we actually had a station manager at the time. Spanky had come into the class to give the pitch on what the radio station is. And hey, we're recruiting. This is available to you guys, regardless of major. It's a really great opportunity. And I was like, I was like, well, my dad was a DJ when I was younger. I have absolutely nowhere to go on campus right now. I have no friends. Um, let's try it out. Let's see what it is. So I went and I started DJing, and well, the rest is history.
I also want to add about Spanky that just how welcoming he was,
Yeah.
him and Austin in particular too, were just so encouraging when I first started. Just so like, try it out, and giving just honest feedback and just having positive energy and just loving what they're doing.
How'd you get involved, Bailey?
Back in 1970.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard this story before, but that was the one where it started at 9 and then I left at 6 a.m. the next morning.
Won't go that deep into it, but I was a student who majored in radio television. It was in the Department of Speech at that time, and WMUL was a whopping 10-watt station at that point in time. You could probably pick us up across Fifth Avenue. And Dean Sturm was the station manager, and he was a renowned broadcaster in this area, and he made it where you wanted to be there. And I got hooked, and outside of a 10-year absence after graduation, I've returned, and I've been here ever since.
What were some of the, I want to ask this question just because I know, but what were some of the kind of influential voices and people that were there that kind of encouraged you when you came back?
Oh, Mike Kirkner was there, who runs Kindred now. Joe Ray, who was there. Ernie Anderson, who's renowned, been in broadcasting 50 some years. I was there. I mean, it was a golden time to be there. And people, as Mac was expressing the passion, the joy to be there, we were not streaming. We had light bulbs had more wattage than WMUL. Idea that we were doing it and for whom, you know, it was just the joy of doing it. And then when people did listen and did respond, you know, you knew you were doing something that was worthwhile. And our programming was quite different, Dave. If you remember, we had the Texaco Metropolitan Opera. We did lots of what you would call true public service broadcasting at that time, because you weren't on the air if there wasn't someone sitting in the seat. There was no automation. So you talk about having to be dedicated and wanting to be there. And my professors were in that same vein. Dottie Johnson is an icon in that area, and D.R. Smith and Dr. H. Keith Spears, who ran the station, who I succeeded at MUL. They were all highly influential in my life.
Kind of on that note, could you tell us a little bit about the evolution of WMUL? I mean, since you've been there 60 plus years, I mean, that's a pretty what would you say, extensive kind of experience as far as, you know, what kind of things have evolved with WMUL through the years.
Well, we went from 10 watts to 176 watts, and we stayed at 176 watts, and that was an FCC mandate. Dr. Spears was hired by Marshall to take us from 10 watts to past 100, or you would end up losing your license, or you would enter what they would call a shared arrangement, where somebody else could come in and broadcast part of the day, and you would have to broadcast the other part of the day because you weren't sufficient power. So he was able to raise our power to 176, and he made promises that we would go higher, which I got to inherit and had to make happen. So we went to 1,050, and when they came out with the satellites that could actually fix your location, which we now use to take us places in our cars, we found out that what we had reported with the old maps to the FCC, and a lot of stations found this out, was not where our antenna was truly located. And so when we made the adjustment, we found out that that slight movement, the FCC was more or less told our antenna was on top of Pritchard Hall, and it's on top of the Science Hall. And that slight movement enabled us to increase our wattage to 1,400 watts.
Oh, wow.
And technology has changed dramatically from reel to reel and cart to digital audio and being able to stream where people can hear us around the world. And our alums can monitor the station now, because I get their emails all the time when they question what we do, or they like what we do, or they want to send a shout out to Makaylah that she does a good job on the news, which we got just the other day. It's changed our outreach and the number of people who are aware of us, and our ability to have the pride in the station that we had back in the 1970s. But you're reaching a far greater audience than you ever dreamed possible, because the one thing students truly misunderstand is they think no one is listening. And then when they mess up and the emails come rolling in, they realize, oh, wow, I guess I miscalculated.
To put in perspective, from the 176 watts to what there is currently now, what kind of space
Footprint.
That's the word. What kind of footprint is that changeable?
Well, West Virginia mountains have a tendency to change what the FCC say your coverage area is. The Federal Communications Commission loves perfect circles. Perfect circles, and they say this is your broadcast area. And here, because our antenna is on top of the Science Hall, we are in essence 56 feet below average terrain. So there are certain directions where our signal, which is line of sight, smacks into a mountainside. Yeah. And can't go that way, can't leap over it. We have a circularly polarized antenna, so we corkscrew our signal through the air so it can find its way into some of the hollows and valleys and over little small hills to fill out our broadcast area. But we go from Ashland, Kentucky to HerdCon, because Taze Valley is well below our average terrain. So we boom up and down the Ohio River and up Taze Valley. We will go up to, I would say, halfway to Point Pleasant. The Point Pleasant station had to go directional. They're on the same frequency we are. They had to go directional away from Huntington because our signals would interfere. But we can't boost our power anymore and say omnidirectional, because we would interfere with stations in Charleston, which are our third adjacent. That's way too technical for most people, but that's our limitation. But we, in essence, will cover approximately 60,000 households with our signal, our 1 microvolt per meter signal, which is the strongest, where you're able to pick us up 90% of the time. We have another contour that's a 50-50 that you can pick us up half the time. And that's a much larger footprint.
Now, with the digital age and everything, do you guys put out kind of like iHeartRadio, where you're out on the digital signal essentially versus the radio signal?
Yes, we are online. You can pick us up on pretty much any app that's a streaming service now. You can find us on, I know specifically TuneIn has been a big one lately. Um, that's what most people use, but we stream on our website. You can tune in worldwide. We have a constant stream that's going there. We actually have 3 streams available. So stream one if there is a game going on, but we have several other broadcasts that are scheduled for the same time. They will get pushed to stream 2 and sometimes even stream 3. And it's always a very, very exciting day when we are using 3 streams at once. It's a very busy day. But it's a very exciting one because it's nice to be able to say that you have so much happening that you have to use more than one at one time.
And usually that happens when you have a live game that starts and our news is on at 5 p.m. And if it bleeds over into that time, you put the news on stream 2, you won't hear it on the airwaves. You'll hear it on the stream. And then say a volleyball game or a baseball game or something else will start at 6:30. So we'll have 3 streams going at the same time, and then we will switch over as those things end. So it'll be back just to the single mainstream.
And then, of course, once everything airs, it goes on SoundCloud and Spotify.
That is so cool. Now, with things like the digital footprint that you can add to the radio signal footprint, what is your listenership? I mean, we said at least 60,000 or more households can get the radio signal, and the stream actually hits technically worldwide. Do you have numbers as far as what kind of numbers are listening to WMUL?
Well, you have to subscribe to Nielsen to get their actual
Oh, okay.
numbers, and we're not a subscriber, not because we don't want to pay the money. It's that those ratings are used for commercial rates, how much you can charge for advertising, and we're a non-commercial educational station. So the books I've seen, we will have approximately 5,000 households listening at any given time. And for certain special programming, when we had basketball Friday night in West Virginia, we would have listeners in all 50 states and several foreign countries. Wherever West Virginia born servicemen were stationed, they would tune in to find out how their alma maters were faring in high school basketball. So, and if you're doing a softball game or something before ESPN Plus came along, we would have what was called the Sprint plan. Friends and family would definitely light up the internet as they were tuning in to listen to their children play for Marshall's minor sports. And they still do, because you have to subscribe to ESPN Plus, and WMUL stream is free. But it's taken away some of our audience because people would, and naturally would rather watch than listen, unless you're busy doing other things, and then listening is the ultimate way to enjoy 2 things at the same time.
Amen. I do that quite often, even when I'm watching movies. I'm usually creating something or drawing or something at the same time. So I totally agree with that. I listen to my books and everything.
It's also big with people who play video games because doing some with your hands, some going on in the background.
Yeah, with both my husband and daughter are both what I'll call the multimedia users. There's always the game or the TV plus a tablet or something else. There's at least 2 or 3 devices in use at any given time.
I've heard the term iPad baby be used, and that's someone who's sitting in front of an iPad and they have like 5 different forms of media playing around them, and they want a mix of noise. They want it creates a sense of presence around them.
For the technology,
And that's very true.
Helped us as a smart speaker, because now anyone can locate. They just say, Alexa, play WMUL, and it automatically happens. It's not going through numerous steps to find the stream. it locates it and starts playing it almost immediately.
You set an alarm with that Alexa too. It's an alarm and the radio all in one.
Yeah. I love the things technology has gotten to the point of doing. It's kind of uncanny because it used to be very much, like you said, a process. I have to go find the station or the stream. I have to go make sure I know what time it starts. And everything is an on demand kind of culture now where everything from being able to start the radio right where you want it, when you want it, everything is just amazing.
Well, the
Well,
interesting thing
oh,
is that our services are free. So I
mhm.
numerous emails. How come you're not covering this? How come you're not doing that? Well, our budget limits exactly what all we can do, and
Yep.
but people want it because it's free and you don't have to subscribe and pay for it. So they
Mhm.
think you owe it to them to do it. And, but I would say open up your checkbook and write hefty sums, and we'll be glad to do these other things that you want done.
Yep, here's our donation link. Come sponsor us if you would like us to invest in this particular media. We get that for HerdCon quite often. They're like, why don't you bring these big names in to do guest signings and appearances? And it's like, you give me the extra money because we aren't charging you an admission to get in that door. But oh, well, let's see. I want to,
One,
what is, oh,
Right.
go ahead, Nate.
one thing I'd like to bring up, when most people think about radio, they think about music. What type of music is on WMUL?
Except
Country and top 40 is not on our station, but
big butt. I cannot lie. Um, everything top 40 eventually becomes throwback and flashback. And country is a malleable enough genre that you get some crossovers with other genre and
Mhm.
have some wiggle room there.
but usually, unless it's country and classical music and top 40, it will find its way on the airwaves at WMUL at some point.
We're the only station in the market that plays hip hop music.
yeah, around here, that's actually, we have a
Oh,
pretty sizable demographic with high schoolers around here because we play hip hop.
And a lot
very
of
cool.
people who work love our jazz and blues
Yeah.
programming that we run during the day because it doesn't interfere or distract when you're working to have it on in the background.
Can vouch. It's on in my office.
I remember when I did my DJ shift for audio production, and I had my DJ shift was during the jazz shift.
Right.
It's very relaxing. I approve.
Well, that's the
How
Nate,
many? Oh, go ahead, David.
that's the Nate Harris seal of approval.
Well, how many volunteers, students, and staff make up WMUL currently?
Oh boy.
Got to do a head count. Or like headed stepchildren.
I would say each I had it will range from more than 100 when it's really clicking to a minimum of 65.
Oh, wow.
I want to say that we have done a lot of work since COVID to bring our numbers back up. That was a worry for every organization
Mhm.
across the world. But
It's
people
returning to
yeah.
it's returned. I feel like it's returned to normal and people are excited to work hands-on with something.
Well, I think we're coming probably to just over an hour. So, what is something you would like to leave people with as a wrap up when it comes to if they want to get to know WMUL, to volunteer or whatever, or just, what is your big thing you want them to take away?
one thing, it's a student activity. So you
Mhm.
do not have to major in it. You do not have to be on air. There are so many things you can do to assist. If you just want to listen to the newest music before anybody else does, you may do that. you can be a photographer, you can do almost anything. And the joy is you get to be around motivated people. They're not people who are sitting around picking lint. I mean, they're busy doing things, and they will get you involved, and they're eager for you to learn how to do these things, and they will push you into expanding your boundaries and finding out what all you are capable of doing. And we've had community volunteers, and we have one named Michael McVeigh, who has been at WMUL more than a quarter of a century. And he does a marvelous job, and he's as sincere and dedicated as anybody you would want. And that is not an unusual thing to find with our community volunteers. So if you're interested, we're located in the communications building, and you're welcome to come and you're welcome to join us. And the really neat thing is you can find yourself volunteering for 1 hour a week, or we will forward your mail to the staff room.
It's something that is open to literally everyone, and it is around your schedule. It is what you are interested and willing to do. It is not that we are going to force you to do this, that you have to do this. The only time that you have to do it at this time is obviously a sports broadcast or the news, things like that.
Or class assignment.
Yeah, class assignment, you might want to do at a certain time. But it is completely open to you and what you are wanting to do with it. So it is something that is unlike anything else that you can do on campus or many times anywhere else in life, that it's specifically molded to your needs and your interests. And why would you not want to soak up an opportunity like that to at least give it a try? Because again, you never know what you're going to enjoy or what might be good for you until you try it.
Mass media is not openly available to you once you leave this university.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There are not a lot of places that'll just give you a platform to express yourself.
Very true.
It's hard to add to what they said, but I just want to say I found my family at WMUL. I found my friends. I found myself here.
That I think is very high praise. And we are we love having you as part of HerdCon, of course, and more importantly, as part of the Marshall University family overall, because yeah, like you said, we do see you everywhere. Always. There is representatives for WMUL at every event on campus. And I think you guys even helped with the silent rave that the library put on earlier in the month, which I still find the most amusing idea. It was one of our library staff came up with that and was like, "Hey, let's have a silent rave." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "That's such a really cool idea." And it seemed to be really well received. So I think there's plans to do that again. So fingers crossed.
We consider WMUL to be an open window in which the outside world can view Marshall University, and we don't take that charge lightly.
And that's a very important aspect because, I mean, as we're, like you said, coming back from COVID, oh, yeah, one of my kitties and creeping up behind me.
Don't want to derail.
But,
Don't want to derail, but what's their name?
oh, this is Cassie. She is often called Miss Mama because she was adopted with her kitten just before COVID, or about a year before COVID. Hi, honey. And she loves to love on me.
Oh my
Usually grooming my hair, even. It's like, oh, that's painful, but adorable. Now my daughter's trying to distract her.
I have a backup chair gargoyle that will try to rip my hair out with his tongue.
Mm-hmm. Yep. They're so friendly like that, aren't they?
Uh-huh.
And the dogs are asleep beside me, so
Oh, you got the whole family there.
always, always. We call these my Disney princess moments. The animals come and sit down with me when I'm on the couch, and then I'm like, okay, this is my Disney princess moment. Who needs a crown when you've got pets?
Now you just summon some bluebirds and chipmunks. You're all set.
I know. My daughter wants budgies. I don't know how my dogs would do with them because they get a little excited, but I think Mama would be fine with them.
Oh, she's looking
And
stoic right now.
yeah, you're thinking about the birds, huh? She likes to watch them outside. So I know. And she's a little engine, so you can't hear her because of my headset, but she just starts purring and it's wonderful. But oh goodness. But yeah, I do think that you guys are an amazing window to the university for our community. And I love your involvement with HerdCon because that is one of the things we like doing is bringing in the community because I mean, without the community, we don't have a college. We don't have students and future students. And I love seeing just all the faces that we can bring into the different events on campus. So thank you so much for everything that you do. We love that. We love it all. Well, Nate, oh, go ahead.
He said it was our pleasure to help and assist with HerdCon.
Oh, we so appreciate it. I mean, you guys helped out so much, especially last year. Uh, we had you guys, and we also had the IT was doing part of our streaming for some of the events. So it was so neat because we were able to make just such wide strides in accessibility. It's like, you don't have to actually physically be at HerdCon to attend some of these events. So that really kind of excited us being able to do stuff like that and having you guys on site, being able to help run some of the some of the mics and everything. But and of course providing music and everything as we're going, and we love it. And yeah, we are planning another song along, so we're excited about that. It'll be dragon cosplay again, so it should be fun. I know Rodney Sanders has been our MC for the last couple of years for that and has been amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Rodney is amazing. He does such a good job with the emceeing. But Nate, do you have any closing remarks you want to add?
Where can people find WMUL?
I'm so glad you asked. This is one of my
Yeah.
favorite questions. Well, you can find us online at marshall.edu/WMUL. You can also find us on pretty much every single social media platform now at WMUL_radio or just WMUL radio.
Or 88.1 megahertz.
FM.
And that's FM, right?
Yes, FM.
Okay. I know we still have AM at the moment. I think I'd heard something where they were considering getting rid of AM radio frequencies.
Oh, there are too many mega churches on there. I don't think.
True. Very true.
I think that what you're hearing are the automobile industry changing over to EV.
Yes.
About the interference problems they may encounter with AM, but that's not as big a deal as they're trying to make it.
Okay. And see, that's extra information that, I'm sure none of us fully comprehend. And I think that's awesome that, we can add that to the end of this because it is, I think, interesting because it's like, why are they talking about getting rid of AM? So that is really cool. I did not realize that.
It's
Well,
make it a multiple platform in your car where you have internet and streaming and all that, where AM and FM have dominated the dashboard, the automobile. They're just looking for a reason to say we don't have to make this exclusive to radio, but radio is listened to in significant numbers in a car.
oh yeah. Well, it's so very easy to access, and it has been, like you said, it has been predominant, and so many people. I mean, that's the first thing you do when you get in the car. You turn on the radio, Well, thank you guys for being a part of the HerdCon podcast and for HerdCon. We love having you there. So I guess we will wrap up and everybody wave bye to the camera. Bye, guys.
So much for having
Thank you
us.
so much.
Oh, thank you for being here. We so appreciate it. It's been fun. And Nate, thank you for producing and setting everything up for this one.
Welcome.
I like to see that he's working hard here as much as he does over at WMUL. You know, he's a keeper, you know.
He
And
is.
Production director.
He has been great. Nate, when did you start helping us out with the podcast?
Around the same time I started at WMUL, like
That's what I was
beginning of the
thinking.
semester, beginning of the year, basically.
Yeah, because you helped do the live broadcast, well, the live recordings at HerdCon last year, and we're helping out with setting up the production side last year. You have been an awesome asset because I was doing most of the production side on my own for a while. It's like, yes, now I have people who actually have taken classes in editing. Yay!
Always willing to help. Thank you.
It is amazing to have people who've actually had classes in how to do editing because I had to learn all that on my own. So yeah.
I still have a lot to
JMC
learn, though.
JMC 231 is open for you in the spring.
Ah, there we go. And what was the introduction to audio course? What's the course number?
JMC 231.
Okay, so that is the intro to audio. So yeah, you guys, if you want to get into podcasting, radio and broadcasting and everything, that's a great place to get an introduction. But thank you guys. And if you have links that you want us to share in our show notes and stuff, just send them to us post show and we'll go from there. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.